Welcome to the Hitch List, a podcast for wedding lovers, planners, and party people. I'm your host, Abby, a seasoned event vendor who wants to spill the champagne on what really goes on behind the scenes. From the planning stage to the final send-off, I'm diving into everything events with the industry's most seasoned vets. We'll talk about brides, grooms, planners, parties, vendors, and the wild stuff no one tells you about. Whether you're planning your dream day, you're knee-deep in vendor contracts, or working in the industry, I've got the tips, tea, and timeline talk to keep you sane. This is the Hitch List, where we can plan, party, and celebrate every detail. Hey friends, thanks for joining us for another episode of The Hitch List, where we get you hitched without a hitch. Ha ha ha, yes, thank you, a laugh. I love a pun, y'all. For today's episode, I have Brooke, who is the owner of Dolce Bakeshop. Brooke,
Yes.
Tell me about your business, yourself, how you got started in the bakery world as a whole, how you got started doing weddings and events, what you love about it, the things that you hate, all of the things.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. This is my first podcast I've ever done, so I'm so excited. So honored to be here. So I am a Coast Gal. I'm a Mississippi Coast Gal. I grew up in Bay St. Louis, a tiny little town, which is not so tiny anymore.
No.
And then once I graduated from there, I went up to Southern Miss in Hattiesburg, where I met my husband. And we were both in school, kind of, like a lot of college kids, picking a major and
trying to figure out what the heck you're going to do with your life.
Yes.
All the pressure around it.
Yes. Just kind of, checking a major off on that piece of paper and then and going for it. And so I was majoring in business at the time, knowing that eventually I wanted to open my own business, but not knowing what that was going to be.
Okay.
And so my husband and I, we were waiting tables at a local restaurant. And one night I saw in a little Michael's craft store, I'll say little, in a Michael's craft store, they were offering Wilton cake decorating classes. I don't know if you remember that. So this was back in like 2005, 2006. And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. I'm going to do that.
Have you ever baked before?
So I grew up on, box cake mix and frosting out of the can. And I mean, that was my birthday cake and I loved it. To this day, I love that. If that's what my mom makes for me.
Right.
But, I thought that sounds fun. Let's do that. And so I took my little 4-week class and we learned how to ice a cake and how to make the buttercream roses. And that was it. I was hooked. I was like, this is so much fun. So I bought all the things. I bought the little toolbox and the piping tips and, the pans and all the things. And I remember one day, so like I said, I grew up in Bay St. Louis, and we didn't really have like a bakery. We had donut shops and things like that when I was growing up.
Grocery store, go get a cake from.
Right, exactly.
Or the box mix from.
Right, exactly. And so there was a place in Hattiesburg, which she's still there. It was called Jody's Bakery. And if anybody from there is listening, I would love for her to know that she inspired me all these years later. Yes, made such an impact. I remember just walking into her space. And it was tiny. It still is. It's just this cute little white cottage on Highway 49. And I remember walking in and just the magical display of smiley face cookies and rainbow cakes and just
all the feel good things.
Yes, and I just remember it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh, this is it.
This was after your cake class?
This was after my cake class. Okay. So yes, so my feet were already a little wet in the baking world.
I like this. This is fun.
Oh my gosh, I was mesmerized.
That's
so I was like, okay, this is it. And so I've told the story before on my social media where I literally got a college rule spiral notebook, probably from the dollar store, flimsy little notebook, and that was it. And I started, every day after class I was jotting down notes and I was devouring cookbooks and in wedding magazines and just, all the things. And that's kind of where Dolce started, was in that little purple spiral notebook, which I still have to this day.
Yes.
But yeah, my husband, well, he was my boyfriend at the time. We were kind of riding along in the car one day and daydreaming about things. And I was talking about wanting to open a bakery one day. And he said, "What do you think about the name Dolce?" I was like,
okay.
Oh, yeah.
So he just came up with it out of the blue.
Yeah, we were kind of bouncing ideas back and forth. And
something in that realm.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's it, Dolce. And so that was, like I said, in our college days, early 2000s. And so you graduate, you have to get the big girl job. And so I did. I got the corporate 9-to-5 job, like we all do, which was wonderful. And but every day when I would come home, I would jot some kind of little note down in that notebook. And I remember my husband telling me, every day before you lay your head down, know that you've gotten one step closer to fulfilling your dream. And so I wrote that on the front page of that notebook so that I could remember that. Because, there were some days where you're working that 9-to-5 and you're like,
there's no way I'm ever going to get there.
Yeah, there's no way. And so I started making cakes for friends, and then they would tell their friends, and then coworkers would find out that you did cakes. And, it just kind of snowballed from there. And so fast forward to 2013, we adopted our first baby girl, and I was addicted. She was and is still my best friend. And I couldn't do the 9-to-5 anymore. I could not sit and stare at the clock all day and wait to be home to her. And so I begged. It didn't work on paper. It didn't work. But we made it work. And I think when you really want something that badly, you make it work. And so I did, and I left my 9-to-5 job and left all of that security, and I've never looked back.
That's the scariest step.
100%.
Once you get past it, you're like, oh, well, we've done it now. Let's keep going.
And failure just wasn't an option.
Right.
I mean, I knew if things fell apart, I could always go back to the corporate world. But in my mind, it had to work.
Failure's not an option.
It wasn't an option. And and so things just kind of grew from there. I got my LLC. That's when Dolce Bakeshop was born. I got my logo and my business cards and all the things. And I actually have a picture on my social media of little baby Emma and I doing our first little festival. And I brought my little chocolate chip cookies and my little cupcakes, and and then started getting invited to more things like that. And then eventually, things just kind of, like I say, things just kind of snowballed from there. And watching, I'm completely self-taught. So, everything that I have learned is from either trial and error, sometimes lots of errors.
Absolutely. You have to make those mistakes.
Right. And then just devouring things like YouTube videos and like I said, cookbooks and things like that.
Investing in your own education.
Yes, absolutely. And so fast forward to 2015, we were surprised. We got pregnant with her little sister, who has rocked our world. She's our little firecracker. So we have two beautiful little girls. And I just kind of kept going for it and kept building my skill set and building my confidence. And, the first time that I ever made someone's wedding cake, I was terrified.
That's a big
terrified.
deal.
And you can ask my husband, there were nights that I was sitting on the kitchen floor crying because I just could not get the buttercream smooth enough, or I couldn't get that one detail, the way that I wanted it. And I remember in the beginning, I wouldn't dare do a wedding cake that wasn't covered in fondant, which is crazy to me now, but I didn't have that self-confidence yet to make my buttercream smooth and perfect and just like the bride wanted it to be, and now,
or what you thought she wanted it to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're being overly critical of yourself, I'm
exactly. Sure. And now I kind of giggle when a bride or bride's mom comes to me and says, "No, we don't want any of that fondant on it. It kind of makes me giggle like, no, ma'am, we don't do that anyway.
Oh, my gosh.
How far we've come.
Right. How far you've come in learning and perfecting your skill set,
Yes.
too, though. That's the testament to that.
Yes. So in 2016, I had made friends with some other home bakers. My husband is from Picayune, Mississippi.
Okay.
And so that's where we were living at the time. He was teaching high school. And like I say, I had made some friends with some other home bakers in the area, some other friends who were into home decor and crafting and t-shirt making and things like that. And we all got together and we formed what was called the Bake Project. And it stood for Building a Kinder Environment. And what we did is we kind of treated it like a co-op. So we found a building, we shared the rent, we shared the expenses and everything like that, but we still were able to run our businesses independently of one another. And it was such a great way for all of us to get our feet wet and, you know, because how scary it was to
go
make
from
that
cottage
leap.
food to
Yes.
brick and mortar.
Yes.
That is a large leap.
Yes, so scary. And I learned so much through that process because a couple of the girls had worked at a bakery before. So they knew like, ooh, hey, we need to order cupcake boxes and we need to, you know, and so
They knew some more of the details of the brick and mortar expense overhead that came into play.
Exactly. And so that was a wild experience, and it ended up that there were a lot of big personalities in the building. You know, you get a group of 5 women together, all running their businesses together, and so it didn't last long. But I would never trade that experience for anything because being made a little bit uncomfortable pushed me to make a decision that I wouldn't have normally made. And so I remember sitting at the kitchen table with my husband one night, and it was a particularly bad day. And I knew that I wanted out and that I didn't want to do it anymore, but I didn't know what that next step was. And so I remember him just looking at me and saying, if you could go anywhere, do anything, be anything that you wanted to be, what would it be? And I said, I would have a bakery by the beach or by the water, by some body of water, and when I open my front door I can see the sea. And we started looking like that week. And we started looking in Bay St. Louis because that's where I was from. And I don't know if you've been to Bay St. Louis lately, but there's not a whole lot of room left for anything these days, which is amazing. It's amazing to see. But so the next step was to hop across the bridge to Pass Christian. We looked there. We found a space, called about it, and the landlord said, well, that one's actually been leased already, but I have this spot in Long Beach, and I really think that it would fit for your family. It's a 2-story house. Your family could live upstairs, and you could run your business downstairs. And I remember thinking, you know,
had y'all considered that?
No.
Avenue
No,
yet?
we hadn't. But my husband, he's just such a team player.
I was going to say, is he available for motivational speakers?
Yes.
Talk about inspiring all the little moments that spurred you on.
He just, I mean, there was never a question. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to do this.
Let's do it.
And I'm going to commute from from Picayune to the coast. Like, it was just never a question for him. And so I remember thinking, oh, Long Beach, I don't know. When I was growing up, there wasn't a whole lot to Long Beach. But, you know, we're like, let's just go. Let's just give it a try. And so we drove down, and I remember coming over the tracks. And the downtown area in Long Beach is just so charming. I mean, it's like something out of a Hallmark movie.
Right.
And so I remember we pulled into the driveway of this house, and we had actually gone to the wrong address first. So we came in from the wrong way. And so we pulled into the driveway, and the sun was just setting, and we got out of the car, and when we turned, the beach was right there. And I still get chills.
I was going to say, how do you not cry every time you tell this story?
I still get chills, yeah.
That moment that you had envisioned in the car.
100%.
A couple weeks before that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're talking like a couple of weeks' time. And we just kind of looked, we didn't even have to say anything. We just knew. And that was it. And so we packed up and we moved to the coast, and we moved our little family of 4 into this tiny little space in the top of this house. And you know, it was never inconvenient, not for 1 second. I mean, it was tight, and there was no kitchen upstairs, and there was no laundry, and I mean, we really had to make do, but we always looked at it as an adventure. And we would go out to eat at the local restaurants or throw something in a crock pot because there was no kitchen. And, you know, we did what we had to do, and it was so much fun. And we opened in April of 2017. So actually, in 2 days is our birthday, April 22nd. Yes, it'll be our 9-year birthday. So we're going into a decade now in business. Wild. And, you know, those first few years were wild and rocky, and you're learning, and you're
always learning,
making all the mistakes. But our community has showed up and supported us like you would not believe. And so yeah, like I said, we're going into year 10 at this point. And the best part of all of it is that in that time span, my husband has left his job to pursue his dream of opening a restaurant. And so he opened Radish on Jeff Davis Avenue in Long Beach. And 2 years ago, the space right next to his came open. And, you know, we loved our little yellow house. But it was kind of tucked away a little bit, and we had to work extra hard to get the social media out there and to get our name out there. And we jumped on that spot, and now we are out on the main thoroughfare in Long Beach. I'm right next door to my husband, and it is just like...
And that's your businesses. Yes, that's your life. That's your passions.
Absolutely. It's like a fairy tale.
Oh, I love all of that. That's like the perfect origin story.
Thank you.
For all of the things. So you started doing wedding cakes when you were still a cottage baker.
Yes.
In your home in Picayune.
Yes.
So how did you get that first wedding client? What did that look like? You shared a little bit about how scary it was, but...
If I showed you a picture, you'd be like, wow, you're still in business?
Well, no, that's what a decade of, experience gets you too, as you grow and you learn, but...
Yeah, well, so I remember it was a friend of my husband's from childhood. He was getting married, and it was just an intimate little ceremony. I can't even remember where the ceremony was, but I remember the reception was, I think, in his parents' house. And so I made them this 2-tier little fondant-covered cake.
Was it your first tiered cake?
Yeah, I don't think it was my first tiered cake, but let's just say I didn't know a whole lot about supports and structure and things like that. And I had... silk flowers sticking out of every crevice, and oh, bless their hearts. And they loved it. You would have thought it was the best thing. So I'm so very thankful for my clients who have been with me from the beginning and have watched me grow and helped me grow and have stuck with me through some not so fabulous cakes.
Is it considered a rite of passage in your corner of this world that happens, right? That the supports fail, that
100%.
You drop the cake, that you forget a date. Like, is it not a rite of passage that everybody experiences
100%. Let me tell you something. A baker's worst fear is forgetting a date. Like, we have nightmares about it.
I can imagine. I have nightmares about events or forgetting, not showing up or double booking incorrectly. Or,
yes.
I think that's the rite of passage, and it comes with the territory too. We're even not even just weddings, but any special occasion, any events that are. Events are a luxury, and so if a client has booked a product or a service from a professional that's providing something for an event, whether it be a wedding or not, there's a lot riding on that. It's usually a one-time thing. It is a very special day for that client, and it may be another day in the office for you, but a lot rides on it, and you do feel that pressure.
100%. I told my little girl Lennon the other day. She said something to me like, "Mom, it's just cake," and And I get that. But to me, it's not, because to me, it's my livelihood.
Yeah.
And if I let down a client, number one, I'm letting down the client, which is awful. But number two, a cake is at someone's event, and so there are typically dozens, if not hundreds of guests there who I'm trying to impress as well, and who I want to be satisfied as well. And so that's always in the back of my mind as a business owner in general, but especially as a baker, because I may be a little biased, but I feel like the wedding cake is the centerpiece.
Yes,
of
it
the
absolutely
event.
can be.
You know, I feel like a lot of people go, and that's the first thing. Well, the first thing is the dress, of course. But at the reception, everybody wants to see the cake.
It's a big design thing that everybody remembers.
Yes.
Truthfully.
Everybody wants to see the cake. And so, yeah, I don't take that lightly at all. It may just be flour and sugar and eggs, but to me, it's my livelihood, and it's, you know, it's the reason that I get to wake up every day and do what I love, and not sit behind a desk.
Right.
Well,
that's where that passion stems from too.
Yeah.
Yes, it is just a cake, but it can be so much more. It's a part of the guest experience. It's a part of what this client has sought you out specifically. They've hired you for, on one hand, and then also you're passionate about your work.
Yes.
You would be, whether it be a cake or pretty draping or a beautiful floral centerpiece. If that's, I feel like if somebody's in this industry, they're passionate about what they do. They 100%. Should be. If they're going to be successful and enjoy their life even a little bit, they have to be passionate about it, because it is such a strenuous industry to be a part of, with all of that pressure that surrounds it.
100%.
So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of everybody wants to see the cake, you're so worried about what it looks like. Everybody also eats that thing.
Exactly.
So you have two big things two marks you got to hit. It can't just look pretty.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And we hear that all the time at the bakery, like, oh my goodness, your guys' cakes are not just pretty, they're delicious. Because a lot of times with bakeries, you do get a trade-off. You know, it's either going to be beautiful or delicious. And that's another thing that we take.
It's a risk that's there.
Yes, and that is something that I've always taken seriously. I mean, the recipes that I have today, all these years later, are ones that I have had from the beginning and have perfected for all of these years. Because, I mean, who wants to bite into a cake that's not eyes rolled in the back of your head delicious?
Right. Well, yes, exactly. You're going to eat the calories, make them worth it.
Make them worth it. Exactly.
And then, too, I mean, the expectation of, oh my gosh, I see this beautiful cake. I cannot wait to taste it.
Yes.
They taste it. It doesn't taste too good. And then it kind of sullies the
moment.
The thoughts that they had about how beautiful it was. Like, darn.
Yes. And, I think as a bride, it's a thing that kind of like a point of pride to have your guests coming up to you and telling you how good the cake is, how good the food is. You know, I mean, you've, as a bride, you know, I was a bride once, and I remember the 10, 11, 12 months of planning for this.
For a cake tasting.
Yes.
Is that not like an inherent, like, part of wedding planning that even starting as a little girl, you dream about your wedding day, you think about getting to go cake tasting one day too.
Yes.
That's in all the movies, that moment of wedding planning, dress shopping, tasting. Those are the things that you see in the movies about what wedding planning is, not the sitting in front of a computer and typing your guest list in 100 invitations, all the addresses. They don't portray that. They take you to the tasting. Right.
And we try to push our clients toward that in-person sit down tasting and
round
consultation.
Out the experience.
Yeah, and that's not always feasible. We have a lot of clients that are from out of town, and you know, the coast is a destination for them, and so we're definitely flexible. Don't get me wrong. We can totally plan your wedding cake over email with, you know, inspo pics. But like you said, there's just something so magical about getting to come and be wined and dined with
Yes.
cake and fillings and frosting options and all the things, and get to talk about your day with someone and have someone be excited
Yes.
about your day with you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that we really love
Yes,
to do with our
I
clients.
love that. That actually makes me, it kind of touches base on a question that I wanted to talk about was, what are the ways that you build trust with clients? So,
Yeah.
for instance, if you do have somebody that's out of town, they can't
Mm-hmm.
come in for a tasting, you know, they can see your portfolio. Oh, she makes pretty cakes. Cool. Where's the trust come in that, okay, it's also going to taste good. It is going to look like these photos, not this doctored image from a professional photographer.
Yes.
What does your process look like?
Yes. So, you know, I think one of the ways that we build trust is through that consultation time. And of course, you know, the number one way to build trust, I think, is word of mouth. If you're at someone's wedding and you get to taste the cake and ask, oh, where did you get this from? We hear that a lot at the bakery, and I think that's a huge way.
Or you did my daughter's friend's wedding, or whatever it is.
Right. And you know, one thing that I think may set us apart from some other bakery owners is that I'm not afraid to tell a couple when something that they come to me with is out of my skill range. So, you know, I just tell them up front, listen, you know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I can duplicate the lace on your wedding dress and then have just to get the sale or just to get the booking, because it's your day. And if I don't get the booking, but you find another baker who maybe is skilled in that type of piping or that type of particular design, I want you to have that because it's your day. And so this is not just a job to me, you know what I mean? Like I said, this is my livelihood, and I would rather be upfront and honest, and I a lot of the times they'll book anyway, and you know, because
we actually still want you though. It's okay that you can't do the lace. We want you and your cake and your integrity, your passion behind it.
And I think they appreciate that honesty and that I'm not just gonna, you know, do the smoke and mirrors and yeah, we can do that, and then I show up with something that looks nothing like what they wanted. So I think that builds a lot of trust. And then, like I said, just sitting down with them. You know, one thing that I like to do when I sit down with a couple, you know, we'll sit down, I'll present them with a plate of delicious cake and filling options, and I'll say, all right, guys, I'm going to leave you two to taste, talk amongst yourselves so that you can be honest with each other, because there may be something that you don't like. You know, not everybody's a chocolate cake person, or not everybody's a fruit filling person. So I want them to be able to chat openly and honestly with each other, and then I'll come back and we'll sit. And you know, one of the first questions that I ask is not, okay, you know, let's get into what flavor you want. You know, one of my first questions is, tell me a little bit about the wedding. Because I want to know. I want to know what's your vibe, what's the color scheme, what's the feel of your wedding. And so I want to make them feel like I'm not just here to get your booking. I'm here because I care about you as a client, and I really want to get a feel for what you're looking for. And not just
understand more about what you're going to be stepping into when you're arriving to deliver that thing. Because, does it match?
Yes, exactly. Well, you know, no two couples are the same. And so a lot of times, especially here in the South, we do a lot of barn weddings. And so a lot of my couples are like, we're easygoing, we're going for the rustic vibe, you know, we're not looking for anything too fancy. But then you've got places like the White House Hotel and you know, white pillars and these beautiful oak crest mansion, which is just timeless. And so I want to know those types of things. I want to know what kind of, you know, are you going for Gatsby, or are you going for, you know, rustic?
Beyond the logistics of, well, what's your guest count? Well, this cake will only feed this many, or vice versa. Indoors and outdoors, how long does the cake need to be set up? You, of course, are getting the logistics of that, but you're also, like you said, getting a feel for them and that can build that trust. Like you said,
Right.
this person does care beyond just
making the
throw
sale.
me money, I'll throw you a cake.
Exactly. It's so much more than that.
Yeah. And I feel like, too, a lot of vendors will experience pushback on super detailed questionnaires, or a good example would be like, I'm trying to inquire with a photographer, and so I go to their website, and they're asking me all these details about my wedding day. I just need to know if you're within my price range and if you're available at this point.
Yes.
And then you can learn more about my day.
Yes.
Once you've gotten this couple in your shop and they're sitting down doing a tasting with you, they are probably much more forthcoming with that information, and they're excited to talk about it. Everybody wants to talk about themselves.
Exactly.
Everybody wants to talk about their wedding.
Yes.
When they're still trying to figure out if you're the right fit, maybe or not. No, they don't. And the generation now that's getting married, they don't want to go fill out 15 questions on a website form.
Yeah.
Just to even see.
And that's fair. And, and that works both ways too.
Right.
We appreciate someone who respects our time and doesn't want to waste our time if maybe we're out of their budget, or if we don't have their date available. So yeah, we appreciate the super super detailed bride and we appreciate, just like you said, like, hey, let me ask you these couple questions, and then we'll go forward.
And then we can go forward. Yes. That's I think just how the industry is trending towards is the quick reference. They want information right there, and a lot of the details can't be captured just like that. And once they get further in the planning process, they can see that too, and you get them to kind of simmer down a little bit and can chit chat about it. So talking about budget, so I feel like sometimes the wedding cake can be a sticker shock for couples when they maybe have only ever had the box cake mix, or only ever seen the cakes at Walmart, or browsed through the online service where you can order a cake from Walmart. That Walmart cake tastes great, I think. Nothing wrong with it. How do you approach pricing with clients? What do you, if you get that pushback, how do you have that conversation with them?
Well, conversations like that are never comfortable for either side, but we do try to kind of ease their anxiety with that, because listen, we've never promised to be the cheapest bakery, and we never will, because we pride ourselves on being a little more elevated,
a quality and a luxury service. And
exactly,
it is a luxury.
Exactly. So we never take offense when someone is like, that's a little out of our price range. We get it. We totally get it. And things are so crazy in the world right now. Things are so expensive. And, a lot of people right now are on a budget. And so we totally get that. But like I said, we do try to kind of put their mind at ease. And, a lot of things in our industry, in the food industry, can be so volatile with what's going on in the world. If it costs the 18-wheeler more to get the eggs to the supplier, then we're paying more for the eggs. The shipping company is not going to eat the cost. We are, unfortunately,
as the consumer.
Right. And so we like I said, we started in 2017. That was about getting our feet on the ground, and then 2020 and COVID hits, and then it's hard to get a hold of certain ingredients and things like that. And then I feel like ever since 2020, there's just been something. there's always something, if it's not a war, it's crazy gas prices, grocery price, it's always something. And so we try to mitigate that as best as we can, and we try to keep our prices as reasonable as we can. But at the end of the day, you're paying.
It's your livelihood.
Too. And something that I always pride myself in as well at our bakery is we don't pay minimum wage for our employees. And so I have employees who have been with me since almost the beginning. And that's another part of building trust. I have girls who, they stick with me. They know the business. They can step in if something happens to me.
You trust them.
Right. And so I think a lot of that goes into our pricing. And so we do try to, that's another thing that we talk about in the consult is, listen, here's the price breakdown. Here's our pricing and policies. And then one of the very last things that we talk about is, listen, if something happens to me the day of, on the way to you, the day before, if I get swept up in a tornado on the way to your venue, I have a team. And that kind of plays into the cost.
Yeah.
It's not just me that I'm taking care of. I have a lot of people that depend on me.
You're not a random person,
right,
who just enjoys baking and can do it out of your house and bring them something.
Right. And listen, don't get me wrong. I started as a home baker, and my ultimate respect goes to home bakers. Yeah. I will always have the utmost respect for them. But that's one thing about owning a brick and mortar is suddenly you have the overhead.
Right.
You have the insurance and the taxes. My goodness. I never, even being a business major, that was sticker shock for me, those first few months when I had to pay taxes for the first time.
But it would be better for my family if I didn't own this business. My goodness.
Right. Oh, 100%. Yeah, I definitely made more money as a home baker.
Yeah.
Because you don't factor in all of those expenses and things. And just little things that you don't think about. Like, I'm not going to bring your cake to you on a flimsy cake board. I'm going to make sure that it is a thick, sturdy, beautiful cake board. And then I'm going to drop off a box to you at the venue for your leftovers, or for you to save that top tier for your anniversary and things like that. And so it's just little details and the little things like that add up.
Right. All of those different cost drivers. And I don't think we in the industry ever expect the client to understand all of those nuances. But if you have an issue with something, it's just about communicating.
100%.
Hey, why is it this? Just, I don't think you're trying to scam me necessarily, but why is it this? And then we, as the professionals, are able to say, well, X, Y, and Z. And if they want a list of why, okay, I have to pay electricity, water.
Yes.
All of the overhead, the utilities, Wi-Fi, I have to pay my staff, all of your supplies, on top of your ingredients, on top of your time, on top of trying to make a profit to support your family.
Exactly.
On top of your 10 years of experience.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, a lot of times with, a bakery like ours, you're paying for that time and all of the tears and mistakes that I've made already that have made me a stronger baker.
Education.
Yes.
Any of those, we wear a lot of hats as a business owner that don't have anything to do with the passion behind it. You like to make cakes and decorate them. You don't like to figure out your taxes. But you have to do those things, and that's also still your time.
Right. And I remember before I went into this industry, I remember hearing this guy on the radio talk one day about the wedding industry and how a lot of times vendors will jack the price up on something like your wedding cake or something like that because they know that you need the cake. And I don't know how it is for other bakeries, but for us, it's just not true. Now, if you were to compare our price list for our wedding cakes to maybe say our what we call celebration cakes, so that would include anything else, even up to dessert cakes or baby shower cakes, birthday cakes, things like that, you do see a price difference. But the way that we look at it is through serving size to start with. How many do you need to feed? And then a lot more goes into planning someone's wedding cake than, say, a client.
You've communicated more.
Yes, 100%. A lot of times with a birthday cake, it's, hey, I need a vanilla cake and I need it to be ready at 5 o'clock on Thursday. And that's the extent.
12 people.
Right. That's the extent of it. But we build in that extra time in that wedding price. And so we are going to exchange as many emails with you as you need to make you feel comfortable.
You're gathering that information.
Yes.
You're bringing them in for the tasting. You're learning about their day.
Yes.
I mean, even to prep for a tasting, how long does that take you?
Exactly. Yeah. We're we're preparing 5 to 6 different flavors of cake, the different fillings, the different frostings, even just setting up the room. So typically in the beginning, when we moved into our new space, we just kind of sectioned off a little corner that we could kind of make private with some little room dividers. And our bakery has gotten so busy, which is a blessing. It's a great problem to have.
Right.
But it just makes it not so intimate when you're trying to discuss your big day. And so my husband actually just leased a space right behind our 2 spaces.
Okay.
And he has turned it into a private dining room, which is wonderful because he can use it for things like rehearsal dinners and private parties.
For catering, because
yes.
I know he offers that through Radish.
Yes, and so that's what I've started to use the space for. We can turn on a little jazz music, present him with a glass of champagne, and then, here's your tray of goodies.
And again, rounding out that experience.
Yes. So, it's a lot of prep. It's a lot of prep and a lot of care that goes
Other
into
cost drivers. I mean, you see that everywhere. You see it from those that are not in the industry. Wedding industry prices are crazy. They jack the price up just because they can. I've even seen like social media posts here recently of, a bride who did a test on somebody. I called and asked for a price for a celebration for 50 people, and they gave me a price. And then I called back and said it was a 50-person wedding, and the price doubled.
I wouldn't say that ours would double by any means, but yeah, if you call and you're booking a celebration cake, you'll probably get one price from us. And we do have people who will call for their wedding cake, and they won't tell us that it's for a wedding. And if that's what
they're just cheapening their experience.
They are
not even. I say cheapening. Not even from a physical money perspective. They're cheapening their overall wedding experience.
And that's okay if that's what's in their budget. If that's a lot of times, you have a friend of mine who's a business owner, and she said that she has a sign in her business that says you can have it good, you can have it cheap, or you can have it fast. You have to pick 2.
Yes.
You can't have all 3. And for some people, price is the deal breaker.
Yep.
And we get that. And so if you want to call and book your cake over the phone in 5 minutes, hey, that's great. A lot of times, like I said, that's what's built into the price, is we're going to block off a bigger chunk of our calendar, a bigger chunk of our decorating time for your cake, so that we can slow down. Not that we're slinging out cakes for other occasions, but we want to really focus.
You logistically do need more information to put together a wedding cake.
Yes. And a lot of times, don't get me wrong, I have 2 decorators that work for me that are crazy talented, but a lot of times it's me. It's me that I want my hands on that wedding cake. I want my eyes on that wedding cake. I'm delivering. No one else is delivering that wedding cake
and
except
you're
for me.
understanding the investment that they're also making.
100%.
And want to make sure that they don't question a dollar spent.
Exactly.
When they are spending more on their wedding cake.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. So if it's these couples that have a strict budget too, and they're not wanting to tell you that it's for a wedding cake, at the end of the day, all it takes is a little bit of communication.
Absolutely.
From them.
Absolutely.
I mean, couples need to prioritize what's important to them on the wedding day. And if budget is we have 0 wiggle room.
Yeah, tell us that.
Communicate
Tell
it.
us that, yeah.
And if it's still out of budget,
right.
How many bakeries do you also know that you would love to be able to recommend?
Absolutely, yeah. And I always tell my clients when I sit down with them, like, listen, I am not that baker that's going to oversell you on cake. If you tell me that you need to feed 100 people, I'm not going to sell you a 6-tier cake just because I think I can.
Right.
I respect.
Because that's all your inspiration photos.
Right, right. I respect your budget and, respect your day and what you're going for. And so I'm always going to be that baker that's like, okay, this is the size cake that's going to feed, that's recommended. But listen, if we also have this other option called kitchen cakes. And so if maybe you're not so much worried about the big 3, 4, 5 tier statement piece, and you just want a little something that you guys can have for pictures and cut and feed each other, let's go for that. We can do kitchen cakes that are half the price. Your guests never see them. They never know the difference. You can have it be the same flavor as your cake, or play around with different flavors. And a lot of times your caterer is going to keep it in the kitchen. That's why we call it a kitchen cake. And they're going to slice it up at the same time as your cake, and your guests are never going to know the difference. Right. So I'm always recommending things like that. And I feel like the longer I do this, I can kind of tell. Right. By the middle of the conversation, once we start talking about pricing, I can kind of
feel them out.
Read body language and I can kind of tell, like, okay, let's talk about this
Stop
option.
Freaking out internally.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah. I still care about you as the client, not just giving me your money.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the goal. That's what you want out of your vendors. And ideally, the couple is, you're doing these things to build trust with them. And they should trust each of their vendors. They shouldn't just choose the vendor because it fit within their price range.
Yes.
Choose the vendor that you can tell that they are going to be an advocate for you.
Yes, and the magical thing about being their cake vendor is that, a lot of times, when they book their venue, they're likely to never go back to that venue again after their wedding day. But hopefully I get to become their cake lady.
Right.
And, they'll
come. Her for our wedding cake. Exactly. Let's do her for the baby shower.
Exactly.
For the gender reveal
Exactly.
cake.
And I have so many couples like that. And I feel like I'm a part of their family. I get to, make cakes for their anniversary and for their baby shower and then watch their kids grow up through cake. And it's just my absolute favorite part of the job.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like so bakery is that, photographer sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Absolutely.
Another? Really? I mean,
maybe even florist.
Maybe a planner. Sometimes, occasionally, if you want to be bougie and have a planner for your birthday parties
catering,
and showers.
Maybe. Yeah.
But definitely bakery and photography. I mean, people get family photos done, and you're more likely to buy a cake for other special occasions.
Yes.
But you're not necessarily going to hire a DJ for
exactly
throughout your life. Just, living in the world.
Exactly.
So we talked about the things, really, those are the things I would say make a good vendor, make a quality bakery, the people that you want to choose for your wedding cake. So what are some red flags for couples to look out for when they're in that booking process with their wedding bakery?
Well, that's such a hard question to answer because of where I've started and where I've come from. So I never want, in answering this question, I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to steer you away from home bakers or anything like that, because we all started from the bottom, and I've had my fair share of naysayers who when I opened my doors said I wouldn't make it 6 months, and here I am. But I think if you're really looking for someone that you trust and for someone that you are just fully confident is going to deliver, I think finding out how long they've been in business, how much experience they have, because I have been through the falling apart cakes, and I have been through the times where I have called my mentor in tears, like, what
am I doing wrong?
What do I do? This cake is falling apart. And but like I said earlier, that has made me a stronger baker. It has made me a stronger business owner, and I know now what not to do. One of the biggest things that I had to learn, when you're a home baker, you're baking out of your home. So a lot of times your refrigerator that you have at home, it's full of your family's stuff. So you don't have room in your family's fridge to put the 10 cake orders that you're doing that weekend. And so that was something that I never knew was about chilling my cakes. And in the beginning, I had a couple of cakes that I would get there and it was just sliding all over the place, and I was mortified and having to figure out what to do, and white knuckling it the whole drive there because
we're in South Mississippi.
Yes, and the heat.
You're in a steam pot half the year
with buttercream.
Right. And buttercream is butter. We know what butter does when it sits on the counter.
Exactly. It does not like the southern heat and humidity. But that's one thing that, I've had to learn through trial and error. And now I know what the time frame is. I know how long my cakes can sit out. So one of the questions that I'm going to ask in a consult is, what time is your ceremony? Is your ceremony and your reception at the same venue? Because that makes a difference.
Right.
If you're getting married at the Catholic Church 30 minutes down the street, then that's going to push your reception time back 30 minutes. And so all of those things factor in what time I'm going to plan to be there, because number one, I don't want the cake sitting out too long. Yeah. But I also don't want to be delivering at the last minute and I'm in all of your photos.
Right. As guests are walking in, seeing you with your cart.
Yeah. So, a lot of that goes into, I think, a lot of
that's where that extra planning time
comes
comes in, that you're having to build into when you're having these consults.
Yes. So, not to say, listen, if your Aunt Brenda is getting into cake decorating and she wants to make your cake and that would make your day that much more special, go for it.
Right.
Go for it. Let her make that cake. But if you're really asking me the question of what should people look for when wanting to feel confident in placing their cake order, I would say, even if it's not with us, going with someone who has been there, who has had experience, who has made the mistakes and learned from them, and is going...
That has a backup plan.
Yes, has a backup plan. Like I said, I tell my customers in the scary part of the contract, if something happens, if we get run off the road on the way to you, I have a team behind me who is amazing, and someone's going to get you a cake. It may not be the cake that you dreamed of, but someone will get you a cake.
Yes. So that's a good question. I've enjoyed asking here recently is, do you have any clauses in that contract that typically give clients pause? Like they actually call it out. What does this mean? Why do you have this? What are some of those clauses?
Yeah, that's a big one. That's and it's the last paragraph.
Like, oh shoot, that could actually happen.
Yeah, and it's something you don't think about.
Right.
And so that's the last paragraph in our contract on purpose, because it's the one nobody wants to talk about.
Right.
We don't want to be talking about being released from liability in the event of that's the least fun part. But I always reassure them, and we've had brides call before and say, my cake decorator has the flu and can't make our cake. What do I do? And we've had to jump in before and do that. But that's something to think about when you're picking someone who maybe is a one-person show.
Good question to ask.
Yeah. So what is your backup plan if something happens to you? Yeah. Stuff that is no fun to think about, but that you should, because it does happen.
Well, and ideally that's where that's why you need to hire planners.
Right.
At the end of the day, you're leaning on somebody that does know to ask those questions. Now, in our market in South Mississippi, or in just this southern region, we have a lot of brides who plan their own wedding, and that's all great and fun. But that's also where it's important to, if you're the bride planning your own wedding, you're hiring the professionals who do have the backup plan, or you as the bride need to know to ask those questions.
Yes, absolutely. I think if I had my wedding to do all over again, I would have made room in my budget for a planner, because there were so many things that I would have done differently. And one piece of advice that I always give to my couples is, yes, you want to make sure that your guests are happy and that your guests have a good time, but please don't forget that at the end of the day, this whole ordeal is so that you and the person you love get married at the end of the day, and that's all that matters. And so
don't get caught up and ruin it for yourself.
Yes, don't
make yourself miserable.
Yes, don't stress about, well, if I get this flavor cake, is nobody gonna like it? Do you like it? Get it. This is your day. And I remember when my husband and I were planning our wedding, I think I spent more time worried about our favors for our guests than anything. And looking back, I'm like, why? I stressed.
Because if a guest complained about what flavor cake you've got, I don't like this flavor. Okay, if they have something negative to say, then they probably shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Right.
Because the people that are there to honor you and your union.
Yes.
From my perspective, I try to. It's a fine line with your couples, because yes, they do need to be concerned about their guest experience to an extent.
Yeah.
And your guests need to enjoy themselves to an extent, not at the expense of the bride and groom, the ones hosting this event, paying for it, inviting you to come and celebrate them.
Right.
And that's a conversation that I have with wedding party and family at rehearsal a lot of times, even from the perspective of, sit down, shut up, and pay attention.
Yeah.
You have said yes to being in their wedding party, not the VIP member of a free party. And if you think it's just going to be all fun and games, you are mistaken. Get out. You shouldn't have said yes to being here.
Yes.
You saying yes to them was you saying, yes, I will serve you on your wedding day. What do you need from me?
Yes.
And then that is where your servant's heart should come out. And from the couple's perspective, don't ask anybody to be in your wedding party if that's not going to be their understanding of the role. Don't invite your guests to be there if that's not the understanding of why they're there.
Yes. And that's why
there's two sides to all.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why a lot of times we will tell our clients ahead of time, like, okay, your consultation is scheduled for XYZ time. We typically ask that either you and your fiance come, maybe you and a sister, bridesmaid, mother of the bride come, and we really like to keep it
small
down,
and intimate.
Yes, because we have had consultations before where she literally brought the entire bridal party. And
did you know that ahead of time?
No.
Oh no.
And
everybody gets one half of a bite.
Goodness. Well, and they weren't even so much worried about tasting. They just wanted to put their input into every question that I asked. And I just felt so sorry for her, because I thought, this has to be miserable, because I
feel like they'll run into that too with dress shopping.
Yes. Yeah. I really, if I could give one piece of advice to a couple, it's when you're going to do those type of things.
Keep it about your union.
Yes.
So with that person.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's not feasible, especially down here on the coast and with the CB base and everything.
Right.
A lot of times we will just have the bride, and maybe the fiance is deployed, or and so she brings mom.
Paying.
Yeah, exactly. And we get that, and we're flexible, but it's definitely more intimate.
Too many hands in the basket. It's a saying for a reason.
Yes.
Do you have there been like horror stories? I feel like it's always a mama who is it's either a mom or a bridezilla.
I'm really lucky, I think, because I don't have a lot of horror stories. I would say the least, knock on wood, the least amount of complaints that I've ever gotten are from weddings. I think a lot of the times they're just so happy.
That is the ultimate goal.
It is. It is. I think the worst story that I have, and I hope this bride is not watching this podcast. The worst one that I have is the bride's aunt began the ordering process.
Okay.
So she, I believe, started the conversation with an email, and I think the wedding was maybe in the early fall, and so she started the ordering process months and months in advance, which we recommend.
Right.
We love that. Started the process and then kind of fell off the face of the earth, and we didn't really hear back from her. And then when the process was started back up again, it was the bride.
Okay.
And so I think the ordering process started with an employee of mine, and then by the time someone started communicating again, it was a different employee who was communicating about it. And so it was one of those clients where they exchanged a lot of communication, and a lot of different avenues of communication. So there was email, there was text message, there was calling. So it was a lot of pieces to put together. And at the end of the day, I believe it was the bride sent a picture of what she wanted. And I had someone working for me at the time who took on the order, which is rare. Because like I said, a lot of times it's me. I want my eyes on it. I want my eyes on the picture. I want my hands on the cake, and this was one of those rare occasions. And I remember I had 3 deliveries that day, which is the absolute max that I will take on. I really only like to do 2 weddings per weekend, but this particular weekend, the fall is our busy season. Yeah. And so we took on this last one, and we totally missed the mark on what she wanted. It was just the perfect storm of miscommunication. Looked at the wrong picture.
So many communication avenues.
Yes. So there were too many hands in the pot.
Yeah.
Too many hands in the pot. And a lot of times when I deliver, I'm delivering a couple of hours before, and usually there's no one there. And I just am able to kind of slip in and slip out. Yeah. But this was an outdoor wedding, so I was having to deliver in the middle of the reception because it was hot still outside. And I walked up with this cake, and the bride stood up from her table and just called me out in front of hundreds of people and was like, "That is not what I ordered." I'm laughing now. It was not funny.
Did you want to crawl inside the cake?
I wanted to run for my life. I was shaking, and she followed me to the table where I set it down, and she chewed me up one side and down the other. And I am such a non-confrontational person. There's a reason I went into a profession with, sugar and sprinkles.
Rainbows and butterflies.
That's totally my personality. And so in the end, I apologized profusely, full refund, all the things.
Oh, man.
And, and it worked out, and they ended up using us for other cakes in the future. So if there's one thing that you'll learn about me is I'm going to bend over backwards and I am going to jump through hoops to make it right. On the rare occasion. I mean, that's probably the only horror story I can think of. And of course it was the very worst thing that could have happened.
That or reception starting, where's my cake?
Right.
I don't have that happen.
Right.
But, I mean,
but
unfortunately it happens.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about it at that point.
Yeah, and in this day and age where you do have so many avenues of communication, you can text us, you can call us, you can email us, you can Facebook us,
Right.
You can Instagram us. And so when you're using all these different avenues, and then, one of the things, I told someone this the other day, one of the hardest things that I have learned as a business owner is relinquishing control. Because at the end of the day, it is my name on this product that I'm sending out, and no matter who helped me with it or who iced it or who decorated it, it's my name and it's my reputation on it at the end of the day. And so that has been the hardest thing for me. And like I said, my employees are incredible.
Oh, yeah.
They are absolutely incredible. But sometimes people have a different eye for things than you do, or they...
I mean, you're creating a piece of art, and art is in the eye of the beholder. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Like, that's a saying for a reason.
Yes, it's art. And, you know, we laugh at the bakery sometimes because somebody can send us an inspiration picture, and I'm like, you know, does this look tan to you? And then one of my employees is like, no, that's brown. And then the other's like, no, that's gray. And, you know, and it's just...
we gotta get them on the phone because those are three different things.
Yeah, and, you know, it's all... We're all built differently. Our brains operate differently, and we all see things differently.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's an art. And it's so subjective.
Yes.
And I think that's probably one of the hardest things.
And then you throw in the bride and her vision. Okay.
Yes.
I need, like, literally, I need you to project what you view in your brain.
Yes.
Onto this paper so I know what I need to create for you.
Yes.
I mean, I can't imagine. I know that's, like, probably one of the more difficult aspects is
absolutely
getting it out of them when you come across those that are more visual.
Yes.
And you're trying to describe to them what you're able to do, and they're like, but I can't create that image in my head, and you can't make a fake cake for them
right
ahead of time for them to approve.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that we're really big on, whether it's through a sit-down consultation or email. We want to exchange pictures. We want to exchange color palettes and flower placement and things like that, because a lot of times, you know, if we ever do have a customer who's not happy with something that we've done, it's because we haven't exchanged pictures.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've learned over the years. Even if someone comes to us and says, I trust you, do whatever you want to do.
But I know what you picture in your head.
We appreciate that. We appreciate the trust. But let's just exchange a few pictures and make sure that we're on the same.
Pinterest board.
Yes.
I can get the vibe, even if you don't have a cake pinned.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this is something I've talked about in a couple episodes here recently. I feel like it's normal for us to say, send me your Pinterest board. What's your Pinterest board look like, right? I'm coming across this younger generation of brides who doesn't have Pinterest.
My heart.
And then I'm like, I'm that old.
I know.
Like,
I know. Yeah. Well, and
showing my age.
I'm from the generation before that who didn't have Pinterest. You know, I had to plan my wedding through magazines.
Right.
You know, sitting on the floor at Barnes and Noble in the magazine section. And so now we've come through the generation who heavily relies on Pinterest.
Who had a Pinterest board since middle school with their weddings board already created. You had to refine it because don't do Chevron and weddings nowadays.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I am still to this day a Pinterest junkie, and I don't know about you, but I never delete my boards. Like,
oh no,
I still have.
I'll create a new one for me today, so that my 12-year-old self still has her tattoo board. The tattoos she's gonna have. Are still saving wedding ideas, and I've been married for several years at this point. But yes, those inspiration photos, they are so very important. And I mean, going back to like a bride being visual, you know, even visual to the point of, okay, here's a photo of a cake with the flowers placed where they're going to be placed for your cake, but the flowers are a different color. And she's like, no, that's not right.
Right. Exactly.
Because she's that visual, she needs it to be that color. And again, that's where you build in that extra time to work on these clients, because you then may need to go in Photoshop and change the flower from burgundy to pink.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's always something like that, I feel like.
Yeah, and even with the groom's cake, you know, a lot of times we forget about the groom's cake, but, you know, it's his day too.
Yeah.
And you know, and that's, you know, going back to the myth of jacking up wedding pricing. A lot of times, 99% of the time, I build my pricing list so that when I'm sitting in a consult with a couple and I have my pricing list for the groom's cake, everything is built in. So, for instance, in contrast, when someone calls to order a birthday cake, we're going to have a base price that we start with for that birthday cake. And then depending on what the client wants to add as far as fondant decorations or a bunch of different colors or a bunch of different piping, the price goes up from there.
Right.
That's not the case with our wedding pricing. So we're not going to add pricing on, or we're not going to add extra costs because of fillings. We're not going to add extra pricing on for different details. It's kind of all set right there. Now, if you want something crazy, elaborate, it may go up a little bit from there, but we kind of set our pricing to be what it is, and we're not going to add extra for this and extra for that, and it kind of streamlines everything and makes it easier for them to get a feel for what kind of price they're looking at.
And I feel like a common misconception surrounding groom's cake is that it's cheaper, and that may not necessarily be the case. Your groom's cake is
we keep it the same.
Crazy elaborate design. It's
a football helmet, or
a Yeti cooler, a fish,
a bleeding armadillo.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Ironically enough, I've had 2 bleeding armadillo groom's cakes.
That's my favorite. My mom and I can quote Steel Magnolias line for line. It's kind of an obsession.
Hey, I mean, again, where do we live?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But I mean, people will think that, like, oh well, my groom's cake will be cheaper because it's smaller. It's not a tiered bride's wedding cake. No, a more elaborate cake shape or decorations, the time that the expertise that's needed to decorate the cake in this specialty way, it's different than smoothing out buttercream and piping pretty,
ruffles,
whatever. Sculpting a armadillo out of fondant takes probably a little bit longer.
Right. And lots of counter space.
Yes, exactly. So what are some questions that you wish clients would ask during the consult, period, that they maybe don't, or even after booking, you're wishing that, you're finding out later on, oh, yep, y'all probably should have asked me that question ahead of time.
Yeah. I don't really... I'll have a hard time answering that question because I feel like we try to build a lot of that into the contract. So when you book with us and when we start going over the contract with you, we're going to cover all of the little details, like how wide your cake drum is going to be, so how wide your cake stand needs to be. And we're going to write that down for you so that you have it when you're out and about, shopping for the little details like that.
Size for it.
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to talk about things like the fact that what we do is an art, and you may ask us to duplicate the lace on your veil onto your cake, but like I said from the beginning, we're going to be upfront and honest with you, and we're going to show you pictures of what we've done in the past, and we're going to say this is what we are capable of. We're going to come as close as we possibly can, but it may not exactly duplicate.
Subjective,
Right.
Like
And I compare what we do a lot of times to copying someone's handwriting.
Right.
You may come close, but you're never going to duplicate someone's handwriting exactly.
Right.
And so we really do try to cover a lot of those little minute details. We're going to ask you, what time the ceremony starts, what time the reception starts. Is there going to be a full sit-down dinner? Or are we going to do cocktail hour first? Because that's going to push back the cake cutting a whole other hour. So that's going to dictate.
And is it all in the same location?
Right. A lot of times,
outside.
One of our favorite places to deliver on the coast is Centennial Plaza, and they have a chapel that they set up for the ceremony, and then a lot of times the guests will go outside for a few minutes and their staff rushes in and flips the room, which is like magic. And so we ask questions like that, like, okay, what kind of time
you
frame?
need more planning logistics than just what time do you want your cake there.
Right. Yeah, and for instance, thinking about delivering to Centennial, a lot of times we'll ask them, because just because they're booking there doesn't mean that they're going to have everything inside. A lot of times they'll do the ceremony outside, and then they're able to go right into the reception. And so a lot of that will factor in, like, okay, well, if they are flipping the room, do you want the cake there during the ceremony, since the ceremony is going to be in the same room, or do you want us to wait and sneak in while they're flipping the room?
Right.
That way the cake is only there for the reception. So we try to ask the questions.
Get them to get their brain rolling on if they need to be asking the questions.
Yes.
No, I mean, that goes back to that's the value of your vendors that are tried and true and tested, experienced, that have the years under their belt.
Yes.
That's the value of just choosing a professional in the industry versus Great Aunt Becky, who makes yummy cakes for family Christmas every year, which, again, that's beautiful, and that can work out if that's what's going to make your day that much more special.
And like I said, I had to start from somewhere too. And so there was a time that I didn't know to ask questions like that. There was a time that I had never delivered to a venue like Centennial. And so I didn't know to ask, hey, do you want me to slip in? Well, it's kind of like when Disney World flips from from Halloween to Christmas overnight. Do you want me to kind of hide the magic and slip in and put your cake in while the guests are outside?
Right.
So that comes from time and experience and time in the market and in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me about any of the extra behind the scenes things that you maybe do for couples that they don't ever really realize that you've done.
So you sent me this question ahead of time, and I've been so excited to answer this question because this is my cup of tea. So making it
extra special.
Yeah. So when you book me, kind of like I said before, I'm not just coming in, dropping your cake off, and hey, thanks for the sale. That's not me. I'm going to walk in with your cake. I'm going to make sure that your cake table is perfect. If no one has set out your champagne flutes, I'm setting out your champagne flutes. If no one has unboxed your cake knife and your serving set, I'm doing that. And I'm going to tuck the boxes underneath the tablecloth so that no one sees them.
And your planner and your coordinators appreciate that.
Yes.
They hadn't made it around to that.
Well, yeah, because you guys have so much on your plate that day. And, I'm not going to saddle you with the box for
it's not my job.
Yeah.
I wasn't hired to put out decor either as the coordinator, technically.
Right.
But I got to do it.
Yeah. And there have been times where I have showed up to a venue and, the people that were delivering the linens, something happened, and they were coming in at the same time I was. So I set the cake down, and I became a linen.
I need a linen.
I became a linen putter oner.
Oh my gosh.
Or I became a petal scatterer. I've done all kinds of stuff like that. And, there have even been times where, let's say I'm leaving the venue, and at the end of the driveway, they've got their little sign set up and it's tipped over. I'm the one that's pulling over my car so that I can set their sign back up, know. So it's so much more than just making someone's cake. They're trusting me to be a part of their day, and I care about their day because I was a bride once too. And it goes by in such a blur, and so you love to see someone's day go as smoothly as possible without a hitch.
No, that's it. That is the sole reason. You have a passion to have this business, and then you get to be so fortunate to be a part of someone's wedding day within the passion that you enjoy.
Yes.
And so why would you not want to go above and beyond?
Right.
I've talked about before the creep of scope that we can experience as vendors. it applies a lot to your planners and your coordinators and your DJ and your photographer, especially when your couples haven't hired a planner or a coordinator. And so then DJ and photographers having to turn into the family manager, queuing people down the aisle. Your scope has crept beyond what you've been contracted to do at that point.
Yes.
And we all have to find that fine line of, at what point am I going to say, no, this is too much, I haven't been paid to do this, it's not my job.
Right.
And at what point are you saying, no, it's not hurting me to pick up the sign that tipped over, to unbox a champagne flute.
Right.
And we all have to find that within ourselves where it is, but ideally, it's not hurting you to unbox a champaign flute.
Exactly.
It's not hurting you to pick that sign up.
Exactly.
If you're capable of doing it, and it doesn't take you away from your other duties, why would you not do it? You're fortunate enough to get to be part of their union.
Exactly. And I like what you said earlier about having a servant's heart.
Yes.
And I that's the way I feel. Like, you know, why
if you're
why
in this industry,
I?
You gotta have one.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, having a servant's heart, and I've always said it too, like showing grace to the clients that maybe are ugly about the price you give them. They don't know. Show them a little bit of grace.
Right. Show them what they paid for.
And then they maybe go, oh, okay, you're right. I apologize for my attitude earlier. Oh, a bridezilla bride the next day. I'm so sorry. Thank you for dealing. We showed you grace. I could have walked out from you being ugly to me, and I didn't. I chose to stay.
Yeah.
So we show grace, and we have a servant's heart. And I think if you're in a service role in any capacity, you've got. Why would you not? You're in the wrong industry if you don't embody those qualities.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day.
Absolutely. I could not agree more.
Yeah. Is there any other topics that I did not touch on that you wanted to talk about? I'm glad I still asked the behind the scenes questions. But is there any other topics? What's your favorite cake you've ever done?
Ooh, that's
your
like
favorite cake.
Asking me to pick my favorite kid.
I asked. I had the French potager on a couple weeks ago.
Okay, love her.
Of course, I asked her, what's your favorite flower? And she was like, what? What do you mean? And went on a tangent of, 50 different flower types and how they could possibly be her favorite. And she's like, but no. So, I get it, but.
Let's see. So, I actually.
Depending on the time of the year that it is.
Absolutely.
Quite literally.
I think probably my favorite cake that I've ever done, and it's not necessarily because it was the most unique I had ever done or anything like that, but it is for a bride whose mom has been my client since I was a home baker. And she has 3 children, and I have made their birthday cakes since they were little bitty. And she has watched me grow, and she has stuck by me. And if there's an event I'm having, she's there. If my husband was hosting a pop-up restaurant event, she was there. And so her daughter recently got married, and my husband catered.
And what a full circle moment for your family and their family.
Yeah, and I delivered the cake, and I got to get a couple of little pictures with her and just see her glowing, and it's moments like that.
Right.
And it may not be the cake that, like I said, that was super unique or my favorite or anything like that, but who I got to make it for.
Right.
And that's my favorite part of this job is getting to be a part of someone's day like that, because this is one of those events, one of those moments in your life that you're gonna look back at these pictures for the rest of your life. You're gonna show these pictures to your kids and to your grandkids, and these memories are going to live on forever.
You're going to remember all of the moments.
Yes.
Ideally.
Yes.
It goes by in a blur, but those standout things do stand out.
And we get to be a part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, how special is that?
Exactly. You don't need to be in this industry if that's not your mindset, I don't think.
Absolutely.
I love all of that.
Absolutely.
Well, Brooke, what is the best way for potential clients to reach you?
Yeah. So we have a website. It's Dolce Bakes, BAKES.net. and you'll find a little tab with a little drop down menu. We have a form that you can fill out for wedding consultations. It's not a ton of questions, just the basics.
Don't get gun shy.
Yeah, just the basics. And then from there, a lot of times the first thing we'll ask you is, would you like to book a consult? And if you don't want to, we're good with that too. Like I said,
But you're gonna send pictures.
Yes, you're gonna send pictures.
Ideally.
And if you don't send pictures, we're gonna find some pictures and we're gonna send them to you.
Right. So there you go.
But or come in person. We're in downtown Long Beach. We have a pretty little hyper feminine shop that we love, and we carry like 10 different flavors of cupcakes every week. So you can come in and sample and see what we're all about ahead of time if you want. And we're so much more than just cake.
Right.
I tell my clients all the time, we can make macarons, we can make cookies, a cheesecake bar, anything like that.
You don't have to do the traditional.
Right.
What's the right way to do it?
Yeah.
That's not a question that needs to be asked. There's no right or wrong way. We do what you're envisioning, and if you don't know what you're envisioning, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised the number of people that we sit down with that are like, I'm just not that much of a cake, or I'm not that much of a cake person. I'm like, great, what do you like? Who says you have to have a cake?
One of my favorite groom's cakes I've had before was a giant cannoli filled with cannolis.
Oh my gosh, stop it. That sounds amazing. One of the trends now is the big giant pan of tiramisu.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
And they dust it for the photos.
Yes. Yeah. So have fun with it.
Yes.
I think that's my biggest takeaway that I would like any potential bride to get from this conversation.
That's another question I wanted to say was, if nobody listens to anything, what do you want them to know?
Yeah.
What do you want them to take away from this?
My number one thing that I would tell my couples is, don't forget that the day is about you. We kind of touched on that earlier. And of course you want your guests to have fun, but the day is about representing you. What do you like to eat? What do you like to drink?
A bunch of brownies or cookies
and
all the desserts.
Yes, we've done so many things like that recently, especially for groom's cake, because a lot of times the guys may not have a huge sweet tooth, and so we'll go with something a little more low key, like a cheesecake bar or chocolate chip cookies or whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be cake, but it needs to be reflective of you.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, you're going to forget half of the people who showed up, but you're
was
not.
So there, I don't even know.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, as long as you and your significant other, your fiance, are represented, that's what it's all about.
Exactly. And ideally your guests are expecting that too.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, this is the most eclectic couple ever. I can't wait to see what they have put together for their wedding day. I'm excited to be a guest.
Yes.
And then they come in and it's all the traditional. They're like, oh, okay, cool. Whatever.
Yeah. Have
or
fun with it.
It's this insane something that they've never seen before. They never forget it.
They'll never forget it. Yeah.
What is it? The trope of, it's the wedding of the century. The wedding of the decade.
Yeah.
It's those things that make that your standout wedding interest.
Yeah.
And so what about a takeaway for someone who is interested in baking and they want to do cottage bakery from their home or open a brick and mortar one day? They want to figure out how to get into weddings and events. What's your advice for that?
Go for it. It's scary. Do it even when you're scared.
It's going to be scary no matter what.
No matter what. I was so scared. I left an amazing job. I got bonuses. I was on a salary. I had my own office.
To my manager putting in my notice. And she was like, why are you upset? I'm not mad. I said, I know you're not mad. I just love you in this job. And I don't want to leave, but I have to do this.
Yeah. I remember the day that I put in my notice, the guy that I was working for, if I ever do go back into the corporate world, I've always said I'll nenever find another boss like him because he was just so amazing. But I remember I brought Emma in with me, and I told him
she's here to soften the blow.
Yeah. Look how cute she is. I can't stay away from her. But I remember him saying to me, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I think I'm going to make a go of my cakes. And I remember he kind of put his head down and he said, "Oh, Brooke, I wish you wouldn't do that."
Because he knew you were going to do it.
He meant well. He meant well. He really wanted us to be okay.
Yeah.
So his heart was in the right place. But if I had listened to him...
he was saying it because he knew I'm never going to get her back now because she's going to be successful at it. And I wish you wouldn't do that because that means you're gone for good from me.
Yeah.
Right?
But, I could name off so many instances like that where... one mentor that I really looked up to told me...
You keep saying mentor. Mm-hmm. So don't be scared, too, I feel like, for anybody wanting to do it. Don't be scared to talk to other people that have done it, that had the journey.
Yes.
It's okay to rely on a mentor.
My goodness. Yes. If Jennifer is listening to this podcast, Jennifer owned... Cheeky Monkey Cake Company for years and years and years. And when I tell you, the first time I met her, I told her that it was like meeting a celebrity. And I think I made her blush. But it really felt that way because I had followed her on social media for so long, and we used to go to her shop all the time. But she and I became such good friends, and she now has her own private cake studio out of her house, and she just does such amazing work. And I have relied on her so much throughout the years. There have been times where I've called her and said, "All right, Jen, I need you to talk me off the ledge." What do I do?
I don't know what to do, but not more than I can chew.
Yeah.
Really.
And if there's anyone local who's listening to this and who is thinking about getting into the industry, or maybe they are already in the industry but kind of don't know where to go,
where else to turn.
Yeah, I'm an open book, and I have had girls come to me in the past and ask for advice, and I'm always open and willing to help because I had that in Jennifer, and I would love nothing more than to be that for someone else.
Yeah. Well, that's I feel like that's another mark. Not only the servant's heart showing grace and having such a passion and the willingness to go above and beyond is also that trusted vendor network. So your vendors that it's not about competition. It's about us all rising together. And, I may not be the right fit for you, but I know somebody who is because I know them and I trust them.
Oh, yeah.
You've talked to me, I understand your vision, and I can now point you in the right direction.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we are not afraid to do that. We, like I said, when we first started talking a few minutes ago, I'm not afraid to say, that's not within my skill set, but let me tell you.
I know somebody who can.
Yeah, let me tell you who does amazing work. So yeah, we're all about uplifting others.
It's all about the vendor network.
Absolutely.
I love it. Okay, so website, I'll of course link it in the show notes.
Yes.
And social media pages.
We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on TikTok.
Oh, TikTok, good. Yes. I feel like you gotta be in today's world.
Yes. And I feel like such an old lady sometimes because I'm really having to learn. One thing that they don't tell you when you're running a business in this day and age, that just because you are running a bakery business or a wedding planning business or whatever business it is, you also have to be a content creator.
Unfortunately.
Unless you have the luxury.
Just added another hat to the... Yes, and there's so many wonderful businesses that provide that service to small business owners in our area and across the country.
Yes.
But that's a cost driver. It's another expense that you have to consider, and if you can fit it in, but otherwise, girlfriend,
absolutely
learn it, right?
And we're not just making your cake. All of a sudden, when the cake's done, we've become a photographer, we've become a videographer.
Yes,
we've become a photo shopper, an editor.
Yes, all of the things. It never ends, really. But I mean, that's the beauty of
what we do,
right? That's why we love it. As our eye twitches and we go to the mental institution down the road. I'm kidding. Anyways, Brooke, thank you so much for chatting with me. I am super excited for our listeners to get some really awesome insight. Not even just about the cake world, but all of the things that encompass what makes a good vendor in our industry.
Yeah,
So.
and I think a lot of the things that we talked about may not even be industry specific.
No.
You know, when you're hiring your photographer, ask them how many years have you been in business? You know, what is your plan if XYZ happens? Because, you know, things like that can happen to any of us
anybody,
vendors, you know,
no matter what.
you know, what if you're the DJ, what if you get the flu? Do you have another person that's going to show up?
Yes. Exactly.
So, yeah.
A lot of great insight. Like I said, I'm excited for our listeners to get to hear this, and thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and I will see you guys at the next one. Bye. Thanks for listening to The Hitch List. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share your wins and woes. I want to celebrate or commiserate with you. Until next time, where creativity meets celebration and details matter. Want to be featured as an event vendor on The Hitch List? Send me a message. I'd love to share your stories and behind-the-scenes moments.